Hi, welcome. I'm Hannah. This is Theology Therapist. So today I wanted to talk to you about just some tips for holidays, for when you are going to be seeing family or when people are celebrating around you and you may or may not be celebrating as well. So the first thing is, of course, boundaries. We've talked about boundaries before. They're crucial whenever you are celebrating or other people are celebrating around you. If you are spending time with your family, know what you are willing to participate in or to talk about, and know what you are not willing to participate in or to engage with. So maybe that looks like a drive-through nativity that you're willing to go to, but not a Christmas Eve service. Or maybe that means participating in singing songs with your family, if that is a tradition that you guys have, but organizing more sort of commercial activities with your friends outside of that or around that event. It might also look like making sure that you have a Galentine's date planned or a friend date planned with someone special for something like Valentine's Day or a special anniversary. Know what topics you are willing to discuss and which topics you want to steer clear from. This might mean politics, yes, and religion, no. Know your time commitments. Do things go well up until a certain point in time? Like maybe if you know that it's nice to see them for an hour or a couple hours, but any longer than that, half a day, a full day, and it's too much, or things go south or whatever it is, then maybe you decide to do lunch with family. You get there right before the lunch and you leave shortly after, and you have dinner plans with friends already made. Or do the holidays not go well if you are sharing space? So when this is the case, you want to communicate well ahead of time or an appropriate amount of time ahead of time that you will be staying at a hotel or staying elsewhere. If you absolutely must share the same space, please, please, please make sure that you make sure to consider giving yourself regular breaks alone by going to grab coffee or going on a walk or taking extra time in the bathroom if you need some solo time, but make sure you plan out how to give yourself physical space or create that physical space if you cannot actually stay somewhere else. The other thing about the holidays that I think it's so important to remember is perspective. So perspective is so important at the holidays. Remember that not everybody celebrates the same holidays as you or has the same traditions, even if you do share the same holiday. They may not celebrate at the same time, in the same way, or even the same holiday. So if someone says Happy Holidays and you say Merry Christmas or vice versa, for example, keep in mind that they are coming from a different experience and from different traditions. We can't know someone's intent without directly asking them. So we can just safely assume that we don't have all of the information. And they likely aren't trying to offend us. Kind of like we're probably, hopefully, not trying to offend them either. So try this mental exercise if this is something that might be new to you or a different way of approaching the holidays. If you are coming from a background where everybody sort of shared the same holidays and the same experience, right? If you are living in New England, you might have grown up in a very Jewish community and everybody around you celebrated the Jewish holidays. Whereas if you grew up in Texas, everybody around you might have celebrated Christian holidays. So if you're coming from a context where you were surrounded by people with similar religious and cultural expressions as you, then try this exercise to increase empathy for someone who doesn't have the same experience. So it's super simple. I'm just wanting you to imagine what it would be like to live in a place where the holiday that you celebrate isn't the holiday that everybody else celebrates. What would it be like to celebrate Passover or to celebrate Rosh Hashanah and live somewhere where nobody has off of work, everybody's going to school, there aren't the images around, there aren't the stories that are being told that echo your experience of such an important time of year. Likewise, if you celebrate something like Christmas, imagine what it would be it might be hard in the US, but imagine what it might be like to live in a place where Christmas wasn't everywhere. Imagine living in maybe Asia, some parts of Asia, or a different part of the world where Christmas wasn't widely celebrated. And what would that be like for you? And how would that feel? What do you think you would wish other people around you, either that you knew or you didn't know? What do you think you might wish that they knew, or that they might ask you about? Or how do you think that you would want to celebrate something so important to you, or so sort of traditional for you, if nobody else was doing that? How would you make that happen for you or for whoever you were living with? Doing an exercise like this is a great way to practice cultivating empathy if the traditions that you celebrate seem like the right way, or the only way, or the best, right? These are the best holidays. Or this is also a great exercise if you have a loved one or a family member who thinks this way. So if you have a loved one who thinks that Christmas is the best thing since sliced bread, this can be a helpful exercise to cultivate empathy for that type of closed-mindedness. If they think that Christmas is the best thing since sliced bread, and it's better than all of the rest. Or it should have, if you remember our conversation from last week when we talked about Christian nationalism, if you haven't watched it, we're gonna have this little square pop up to where you can click on it and you can go watch it. If you remember that conversation and this idea of Christian nationalism, taking the perspective that Christianity or expressions of Christianity should have a privileged place in the public sphere. So if you think that, or if you have a loved one who thinks that Christian holidays, Easter, Christmas, etc., should be given priority over other religious holidays, this could be a great exercise for cultivating empathy. Because if you are in the US, Christmas is very commercial and it can be very in your face. This can be really alienating and offensive if this isn't your holiday or shares your religious roots. So boundaries, perspective, this last point is intention. So spend some time considering what your intention is for this holiday. It doesn't matter what holiday it is. It could be, 4th of July or Memorial Day, for heaven's sake. It could be Valentine's Day. It could be Thanksgiving. It could be any holiday. Spend some time just reflecting on what your intention is for the season or for the day. Is it that you would like to have a big commercial celebration with all the bells and whistles because that wasn't something that you were allowed growing up? Is it that you would like to spend your first Christmas without family because they continually push your boundaries? Or is it that you've had enough of everything and you would just like to skip it all and spend time soaking up the sun, right? So what is your intention for this holiday, for the holiday season? And sort of even larger or on a broader scale, one thing that we often think about or talk about as whether it's a new year, whether it's a new school year, is talking about intention. What is my intention for this year? What's my word? What is my word for this year, right? Do you want is your word slow? Is it reflective? Joy? Intimacy? Playful, right? These intentions, it could be any word. But what is the word for the season? And then placing your attention, allowing that to guide the actions that you choose and the things that you choose to engage in during that season or during that period or simply just during that day, right? If my intention is slow and I'm thinking about New Year's, then I might choose to spend that day. I might choose to spend New Year's alone. And I might choose to be loungy and to make things slow, however that might look for me. Maybe I'd like to make a big meal and spend time doing that slowly, right? It could be any number of things. There's so many different ways to express that. So asking yourself, what is it that you like for this holiday? What do you need? And what's your intention, or what's the word kind of guiding you through the season, through the holiday? Will you be spending this holiday with a partner who has different religious roots than you do, or a different kind of newer religious affiliation than you might? And have you figured out how y'all will combine or include your different traditions? These can be really tense conversations that lead to defensiveness, but they can also be really fun and intimate. So how do you feel about including traditions in your expressions of a holiday that you don't have any history with? I'm curious, let me know that. If you have somebody in your family or your partner has traditions, even if you celebrate the same holiday, this can happen if they have traditions that weren't part of your growing up experience. The holidays can be really hard. And even after the fact, we oftentimes spend a lot of time reflecting and debriefing how they went and what we'd like to do differently. So let me know, in the theme of reflection, let me know in the comments how your holidays were this year and how you navigate celebrating a holiday that might not be the majority holiday, or how you navigate negotiating holiday traditions. As always, thanks so much for being here. Remember to subscribe and hit that red button before you go, and I will see you next week.